The Black Panther is a deeply admired icon in the Marvel Universe, and from the get-go, he marked a unique shift in comics. The racial inequities of the period were a watershed topic tackled by the Black Panther. T'Challa hasn't stopped since his seminal days, and now he's clawing his way to the top. You have to be smart and strong to uphold such a vaulted canon. What's T'Challa's secret? All will soon be revealed. Let's not beat around the bush. If you like this video, hit the shiny red subscribe button to stay privy to all of our cool videos. You know you want to.
So let us now welcome home T'Challa, the son of Wakanda.
First black mainstream comic hero. If you think that you can judge a cat, especially that of Black Panther's caliber, by their stripes or spots, you better think again. He's blazed an exceptional path straight through the heart of the MCU. Not a surprise for a guy with expert tracking skills and can run at 50 miles per hour. He carries a lot of favor for his wicked physical abilities, but did you know that the genesis of comics' racial canon begins with him? Black Panther debuted in Fantastic Four's edition number 52 back in 1966, and he cleaned the floor with them. It's interesting to note that Black Panther's introduction predates the establishment of the African-American Revolutionist political organization by the same name by just 3 months. Conspiracy theorists? Go nuts. The Black Panther activist movement marked a significant change to the eclipsing halcyon era in America. Innocuous or not, T'Challa's original handle was, wait for it, Coal Tiger. Yeah. I doubt that Panther ever stepped into a coal mine. Despite our strides towards social equality, minorities still face significant challenges. In the Marvel comic and cinematic universe, we can at least count on the luminary core group of heroes like Falcon, Luke Cage, John Stewart's Green Lantern, not that John Stewart, and also Black Lightning and Nick Fury.
But if you don't find a suitable bride and start a family, you are endangering the royal bloodline.
Stormy relationship. Celebrity marriages. They never last. Imagine, if you will, that you're a superhero and you marry another superhero. I'm sure that things get super complicated. And no, it was not a shotgun wedding, so stop asking. Prior to the blessed day in 2006, T'Challa and Aurora Monroe, or Storm, bumped into one another years ago, and promptly their hearts were set alight. The wedding was a stunning affair, opting for a Wakandan ceremony, and you know that there was no rain in the forecast. Iron Man and Captain America were in attendance. Pure magic. They can play house well enough, but how do they work together? They cooperated during the Civil War period and even temporarily subbed in for Reed and Sue Richards in the Fantastic Four. How wholesome is that? However, the Marvel event Avengers vs. X-Men had them pitted against one another. That's probably the only time they got to see each other, working in opposite parts of the globe. Long distance never works, and the editorial powers that be annulled their marriage in 2012. I'm sure her rebound with Wolverine has to sting.
Ha! That was awesome!
Spidey knocked him down a peg. As we all expected, Black Panther was first announced as the objective neutral hero in the middle of Captain America's Civil War. Right on and solid. Full steam ahead. Although, Spider-Man traditionally filled this role in the Civil War pages, but negotiations with Sony Entertainment regarding Spidey hadn't been finalized yet. The script was altered to accommodate Black Panther. Sony Entertainment finally sanctioned the web-slinger's participation, and all of a sudden, the Black Panther lost some thunder. And Storm had nothing to do with it. Just saying.
It's perfect, thank you.
Yeah, we don't really need to start a conversation.
They had to be cordial as they played on the same team, seen here clearly breaking every FAA rule at the airport. Spidey kinda stole the show with his gosh golly enthusiasm and remarks. A little less chit-chat, Parker. Keep your head in the game. Where T'Challa lacks in comedic timing, he more than measures up in the fisticuffs. The combat scenes are honestly impressive and leaving fans satisfied, and we didn't see Spider-Man in the explosive chase scene. Just saying. The Black Panther feature will drop this winter, and we'll finally get the chance to see solo T'Challa in the driver's seat. Which makes sense because he has those sharp driving gloves.
Where's T'Chaka? He is. I am king of Wakanda now.
Feel the rage. T'Challa again broke ground as the subject of Marvel's very first graphic novel. Until Panther's Rage, there hadn't been a multi-issue storyline, even though Marvel dispatched a bevy of titles during the 1960s and 70s, but Rage was the first to earn the title of novel. Panther's Rage, a 13-part epic that ran bi-monthly in the pages of Jungle Action from 1973 to 1975 and brought readers to T'Challa's nation of Wakanda, a country coveted for its rich deposits of vibranium, the much sought-after antimetal thought to be the key to making steel indestructible. The very same material that gives Captain America's shield its superstructural integrity. And that'll bring a lot of benefits to Wakanda, the most technically advanced nation in the Marvel Universe, but unwanted attention by those who would want to plunder this material. Writer Don McGregor was repulsed with the old racist depictions found in the Jungle Action series from the 1950s and complained to an editor at Marvel. If you can do better, have at it. And boy did McGregor do just that. What he managed to create was a smart and realistic storyline more rooted in reality than ever offered before. And Panther's Rage is arguably the first in the now common superhero series.
Now look here.
Mistake.
The flawless hero? Alright. We know that you're climbing the walls in anticipation of Marvel's Black Panther February 2018 release. Man, oh man, T'Challa is blushing. The hype is well deserved, especially for his exciting addition in Captain America Civil War. I mean, just look at him go. We're excited. Okay, moving on. Black Panther can hold his own, and they're offering a little extra for later with a broad palette of formidable abilities. When he achieved the title of Black Panther, ruler of Wakanda, he was treated to a vibranium salad, and apart from it being an excellent source of fiber, he too gained super soldier skills from this rare appetizer. Breaking it down, T'Challa possesses incredible speed, stamina, agility, feral animal levels of tracking prey, and then there's still his unsurpassed gymnastic and martial arts prowess. Would you like him on your tail? We think not. Also, don't be stupid and forget that he's the 8th smartest guy in the world, gifted with a scientific beam, so he'll keep Stark on his shiny red toes.
Alright, I've run out of patience.
And lastly, he's the wealthy ruler of the world's most advanced nation. We've also heard that he's non-allergenic. Considering these bonuses, is Black Panther the perfect hero? A strong maybe.
Ma, there's a lot to do. You've been preparing me for this my whole life.
Clobbered the KKK. In 1976, network TV pumped out groundbreaking counterculture shows like All in the Family, Sanford and Son, and The Jeffersons, all tackling the social woes of the time. So it's really interesting that in the Black Panther edition after Panther's Rage, he confronts the Klan. Of course, in the comic, they're not directly called the Ku Klux Klan, although the coward curtain is a dead ringer. Therefore, you can imagine how controversial this was at the time. We're talking 1976, remember? The intolerance then was ridiculous. Or is that today? Who can tell? But what we know is after the atrocities inflicted historically on black men, women, and children in America's South, it makes you wish that there was a superhero around. In the story, however, T'Challa accompanies his girlfriend to Georgia and of course clash against institutionalized racism. Again, McGregor's deft instincts had him scribe even deeper into the social taboos of the day with the Panther versus the Klan. In a showdown, Panther was subdued by Klansmen and tied to a burning cross. T'Challa does break free and beat the snot out of them, but his victory was portrayed as a struggle, in line with the real-life struggle for African Americans back then. Will Black Panther take up this torch in the future?
If this man is everything that you say he is, then the city needs me.
Besting the Dark Knight. What would be the outcome of a theoretical matchup between T'Challa and the Batman? We'll unpack this in a second, but a battle royale between the two helps us see their similarities. Toe-to-toe, the consensus favors the Black Panther, but we can't help but marvel at the fact that they're total counterparts from different comic universes. Wayne is rich in Gotham, but T'Challa's the ruler of Wakanda, a wealthy and super advanced nation. Access to such resources also bolsters the Panther's equipment and tech above that of the Caped Crusader's arsenal. Thank you, Vibranium. Black Panther's suit affords him a ridiculous bevy of offensive and defensive powers. Getting back up after a should-be TKO by the Hulk speaks volumes to this statement. Intelligence-wise, both aren't slouches either. Bruce Wayne is a master detective. T'Challa, on the other hand, is the 8th smartest dude on the planet, and he excels in the scientific area. T'Challa gets pole position here, too. The only way T'Challa might be bested is at martial arts. Batman has mastered 127 different fighting styles with considerable success. T'Challa would hold his own against the Batman. However, if Black Panther were stripped of his suit, Batman might get the upper hand.
I will not warn you again.
He likes to freelance. The Black Panther could just as easily refer to himself as a snow leopard, but it's for the sake of his country. He's patriotic like that. The isolationist nation of Wakanda tends to pull its leader back home to attend to domestic affairs. When his schedule permitted, he's joined forces with the Avengers, the Ultimates, Illuminati, and briefly took the reins for the Fantastic Four. Like we said, when he's got the time. Being a head of state while defending his nation against those who would love to plunder her drool-worthy resources is his highest concern. But teaming up with superhero squads around the globe does give T'Challa a venerable position to keep tabs on would-be adversaries like the Avengers. The main reason that he teamed up was just that, to see if they posed a threat to Wakanda. The Avengers passed the sniff test. The ties that T'Challa has for his country imbues him to accept his neutral stance, like we saw in Captain America Civil War. This pragmatism forged an alliance with Iron Man because they both saw the Winter Soldier as a mutual threat. The rift might have something to do with Cap attending his wedding to Storm back in 2006. Maybe Cappy forgot to RSVP for the event and caused a table seating fiasco.
That is for my father.
A cat with many different lives. T'Challa's rise to the top has been a slow march of firsts in the comic book world, and everything taken has been earned. Take Captain America Civil War and the upcoming Black Panther movie in 2018 that have clearly and firmly laid the groundwork for T'Challa to assert his dominance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the timing couldn't be better for Chadwick Boseman. This has got to be a fun role to play. However, the Jungle Cat has prowled around before in other incarnations. The Black Panther animated series, voiced by Jaimon Hansu, ran on BET, or Black Entertainment Television, in 2010 for only one season. Still, the short-lived series was yet another paw mark in his long and illustrious path to popularity and exposure. Would Wesley Snipes have helped or hurt Black Panther's leap to the top? Well, Snipes was being considered for the role in a film adaptation that was being knocked around since 1992. Wesley was a hot commodity back then, having Jungle Fever, White Man Can't Jump, and New Jack City in his hat. He was 31 years of age then, but now he's in his 50s. Well, at least he got to be the star in the Blade trilogy, but we can't help but notice that those fangs would make him a good cat character.
Who's in charge?
He's called the Black Panther.
The bigger picture. A strong offense demands a strong defense. Or is it the other way around? It doesn't matter much, because it works out to be the same deal, as long as you save the world. The all-new, all-different Marvel branding created another reason to put an animal in space. T'Challa's work associates are a powerful team who have sworn to protect the planet from alien threats. This in and of itself can be a full-time occupation. This orbit patrol goes by the name the Ultimates and consists of Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, America Chavez, and Blue Marvel. It's an apt name for some pretty ultimate characters. Heck, the tagline for the first edition back in October of 2015 read, "Ultimate problems need ultimate solutions." Black Panther brings his usual bag of tricks to the table, but it's advanced Wakandan technology that really gives them their interstellar edge. Out of the gates, the Ultimates literally had to put Galactus back into a box. Actually, it was an incubator in Ultimates Volume Number 2. They succeed, and as Galactus reemerges from the proverbial timeout corner, he realizes the folly of his destructive ways. Case in point, he brings the planet and peoples of Archaeopia back from the grave as they were the first victims in his universal destruction spree.
Here at CBR, you know we can't just enjoy a movie without carefully scrutinizing every last line of dialogue, even when it's a 3-hour-long film we've been waiting a decade for. While we were excited to see our heroes put an end to the Mad Titan in Avengers Endgame, we were also looking for hints about the next big villain of Phase 4. And there was one line of dialogue that makes us think we may know exactly who it is. We had been getting teased about Thanos becoming a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe ever since we first spotted that troublesome fake Infinity Gauntlet in Odin's vault in the first Thor movie. Seriously, why did he even have that among all of his valuable treasures? That's one of the many MCU questions we might never have an answer to. But the point is that we knew Thanos was coming for a long time. Even before we saw him lurking around in the mid-credit scene from the Avengers, there were hints the Mad Titan was going to be making an appearance sometime soon. The movie Avengers Endgame was the culmination of everything, but of course we couldn't just be satisfied with that. We had to start looking towards the next big unknown, which in this case is Marvel's Phase 4. We know Spider-Man Far From Home will draw Phase 3 to a close, but Marvel Studios has been characteristically tight-lipped about the fourth phase of Marvel movies. We think that one seemingly innocuous bit of dialogue from Endgame might have given up a huge hint. After the decimation, our heroes find Thanos, and while this time Thor aims for the head, the victory still feels hollow. The world's a mess. Everyone is still gone, and Natasha Romanoff steps up to make sure things don't get any worse. It's a thankless job, which forces her to subsist on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But she does have some help. Nebula, Rocket, and Captain Marvel watch the skies. Rhodey watches the new creepy Clint Barton, and Okoye reports on Wakanda. During one of their meetings, Okoye reveals that there was a massive underwater earthquake off the coast of Wakanda. When Natasha asks what she's going to do about it, Okoye says nothing, which is a fair response, because even with all their advanced technology, Wakanda can't prevent underwater earthquakes. Our heroes sometimes fight with the forces of nature, but they don't really fight against them. That meeting wrapped up, and soon Steve Rogers and Scott Lang showed up to move the plot of the movie along. But what about that underwater earthquake off the coast of Wakanda? Okoye sure didn't seem concerned, but could this have been a major Marvel movie hint? Many comic book fans couldn't help but remember some notable instances of conflict in the waters of Wakanda, perpetuated by a character we haven't seen just yet in the MCU. And before you call us crazy for looking so far into a single comment, consider the whole quantum realm and time travel thing. This was a major part of the storyline of Endgame, and the only reason our heroes were able to undo the decimation. It was something we'd never seen before in the MCU, and yet somehow we all saw it coming. Why? Because during the mid-credit scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp, Janet Van Dyne warned Scott Lang to be careful of time vortexes within the quantum realm. That one little line of dialogue held a ton of significance and was a major hint about what was going to come during Avengers Endgame. So is it really so crazy to think that Marvel might have included a big clue hidden in a throwaway line during Avengers Endgame? We don't think so. Now, let's talk about the Black Panther franchise for a minute. The first movie was a big hit, and we know Marvel Studios has given the green light to a sequel. However, in typical Marvel Studios fashion, they've been stingy with the details. And although we may like to hope and theorize otherwise, it seems almost certain that we'll be seeing a new villain because Eric Killmonger ain't coming back. We know he was really great and sometimes crazy things happen in the MCU, but come on, the first stage of getting over grief is acceptance. Killmonger's gone, which is very sad. But this means we need an all-new villain for Black Panther 2. If you're a fan of Marvel comic books, you probably see where we're going with this. But if you're not, then let us introduce you to Namor the Submariner. He's the son of a human sea captain and an Atlantean princess, and calling him the Marvel version of Aquaman would be doing him a serious disservice. He's a complex, compelling, and multifaceted character who was once ranked right up there with Captain America in terms of comic book popularity. His disposition is nebulous at best, and he's had more than a few run-ins with Wakanda in the comic books. So when we heard about a massive underwater disturbance near Wakanda, how could we not have immediately thought of Namor? One of the greatest things about Namor is that he isn't strictly a villain. He's clashed with our heroes and the people of Wakanda many times, but he isn't always the bad guy. He can be anything from an outright villain to an anti-hero to a legitimate superhero, and we love that he keeps us guessing. By having him show up as a villain, we could get an exciting character arc and some incredible conflicts with the existing cast. And this isn't the only time we've been teased with having our favorite aquatic-themed character joining the MCU. We could have been getting hints as early as the movie Iron Man 2 in 2010. When Tony Stark and Nick Fury meet up to discuss the Avengers Initiative, they're surrounded by screens depicting superhero-related events around the world. If you were looking carefully, you might have seen an area highlighted off the coast of Brazil. It was an area that hasn't been featured in any Marvel movie so far, but it seemed like a plausible location for the underwater city of Atlantis. The location seems to put it somewhere between Brazil and Africa, which coincides with the location Okoye was reporting on in Endgame. Even Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige claims to be a huge fan of Namor, and has wanted to include him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe for quite some time. So what's the holdup? No, it's not a compelling storytelling reason. It's more character copyright red tape. Seriously, that seems to be the only enemy our Marvel heroes can't defeat. Bureaucracy. The problem is that the rights to Namor are owned by Universal Pictures. But just because Disney doesn't have the rights doesn't mean they can never use the character. It just makes things a little bit more complicated. As recently as 2018, Kevin Feige talked about wanting to utilize Namor in the MCU and working out the complicated process of getting permission to do so. But it's definitely possible. Just look at Spider-Man and the Incredible Hulk. They're both parts of the MCU, despite technically being owned by Sony and Universal respectively. But let's talk about how Universal owns the Hulk and Namor. Marvel Studios does own the film production rights to the Hulk, which is why he's able to appear as a supporting character in movies like The Avengers and Thor Ragnarok. However, Universal owns the distribution rights to Hulk, meaning if Marvel wants to make a standalone Hulk movie, Universal will need to be the one to put it out in theaters and reap the reward. This doesn't sit well with the mouse, which is why we doubt we're going to see a standalone Hulk movie anytime soon. So while Namor may be an incredible character worthy of his own standalone movie, it seems unlikely that he'll get it because of this behind-the-scenes ownership issue. Instead, it's a much safer bet to assume he'll show up as an antagonist or a supporting character in another franchise or multiple franchises. Hey, it certainly worked out for the Incredible Hulk. It seems like everyone is rooting for Namor to show up in the MCU. So why Wakanda? Well, let's just say the Submariner and Black Panther don't always see eye to eye. Okay, that was maybe the understatement of the century. We mentioned earlier that Namor's personality is often nebulous at best, and he can either be a hero or a villain depending on the situation. In this way, he's similar to Loki, who is one of the most popular villains the MCU has ever seen, and as far as where Loki is, it's also complicated. He was killed by Thanos in Avengers Infinity War, but we saw him take off with the Tesseract in Avengers Endgame, and we know he's getting his own show on the Disney streaming service. So basically, we wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him show up in the MCU movies, or at least for the foreseeable future. It seems like he has a lot going on at the moment. In the early days of the comic books, Atlantis was considerably damaged by earthquakes, like the one Okoye mentioned in Avengers Endgame. One of them even caused the death of Namor's mother, Princess Fan. It turns out the earthquakes were caused by an item known as the Serpent Crown, which was later used to wipe Namor's memory. When he got his memory back from the Human Torch, he decided that he wasn't so fond of humans, despite teaming up with them in the past. He's fought against the Avengers, and has had dealings with the Fantastic Four. He even caught feelings for Sue Storm, which were briefly reciprocated. Not only would introducing Namor into the MCU give us an exciting new character and open up the world of Atlantis, it could also lay the groundwork for introducing the Fantastic Four. Because as we all know, the rights to those characters are finally obtained by Disney from Fox. Yes, we've seen the Fantastic Four on the big screen before, but this awesome superhero team has never really had a good movie. Their films are pretty much universally panned, and the first time they were even in a movie, it was so terrible that it was never released, and Marvel tried to have all copies of it destroyed. Of course, you can still find it on YouTube, but we don't recommend it. Seriously, it's not good. It's bad. Not only does Namor have dealings with many current MCU characters, but he could be a bridge between the MCU and heroes we haven't met yet, if he's introduced in Black Panther 2. You might think that, as someone who lives in a secretive city under the sea, Namor wouldn't have to worry about getting into disputes with other countries, but you'd be way wrong on that. Because it turns out there's pretty much nobody that Namor won't feud with, and he and T'Challa have notably crossed paths numerous times. Honestly, attacking Wakanda is a bold move, and one few people could pull off. Not only does it have a pretty tight security force, but it also has access to incredibly advanced technology and a stockpile of vibranium. And that's not even taken into account the Black Panther himself and all of the allies he has to call upon. In order to oppose Wakanda, you'd have to present a huge threat, and Namor is one of the few characters capable of doing so. There was even a time when Namor flooded Wakanda in an effort to take out the Avengers, a devastating event which claimed many lives. Although many of the things Namor does impacts Wakanda negatively, some of them could make interesting developments. At one point, Namor attempts to recruit T'Challa onto his side, which leads to Shuri becoming the new Black Panther. It's a move that many Marvel fans wouldn't mind seeing. And it involves not only the Fantastic Four, but the X-Men, heroes also recently acquired by Disney. Now, we're not saying that all of this is going to go down in Phase 4. While Marvel Studios is quiet about the details, we have a feeling it's going to take quite some time to build up all of these storylines. But introducing Namor in Black Panther 2 would certainly be an excellent start, and it would mean endless possibilities. Now that Thanos is gone and Loki is who knows where, the MCU is definitely in need of a new villain. Introducing a villain who could also become a hero someday would be a smart move, and it's one we think Marvel Studios is eager to make. If DC's Aquaman movie was such a success, imagine what Marvel could do with their very own aquatic superhero. Of course, they won't have Jason Momoa, but we think we'll be able to move past that.
From his debut in 1966 to his live-action film debut, the Black Panther has come a long way over the years. Revisit his most memorable moments, animated appearances, and shocking cameos in other Marvel properties. Enjoy the video? Hit subscribe! Now let's jump right in.
The Black Panther has been the protector of Wakanda for generations. A mantle passed from warrior to warrior.
In 1966, the Black Panther debuts to become the first mainstream African superhero in issue 52 of the Fantastic Four. By the end of the issue, he unmasks, revealing his chieftain position in Wakanda, and the following comic showcases his whole backstory. The character was another in a long line of heroes created by Stan Lee and writer/artist Jack Kirby. The initial backstory showcased Black Panther's homeland of Wakanda, the villagers who lived there, and how T'Challa officially became the Black Panther hero we know today. Much of this backstory has remained through the years. A few years later, Black Panther officially joined the Avengers, helping them defeat the Grim Reaper and taking on the X-Men shortly after in a huge crossover issue.
Don't freeze.
I never freeze.
The revolution will not be televised.
Black Panther's first starring feature is in the pages of 1973's Jungle Action and showcased one of the first extended story arcs in Marvel history. In 1977, he ditched the Jungle Action title for his own solo series, which eventually led to Black Panther Volume 2. As we enter the 1990s, Black Panther goes on a deep undercover mission to see if his mother is still alive in a highly detailed miniseries full of some of the best Black Panther covers.
but that's my shield you've got there, and I'd like it back.
Tell me, Captain America, is it really your shield?
Transitioning from comics to the small screen, Black Panther makes his animated debut in X-Men the Animated Series out of all places. In a blink and you'll miss it moment, Black Panther makes his presence among the X-Men known when Magneto makes evil plans in Africa. 2 years later, a bigger animated role would come for the hero.
Why are you attacking us?
It's difficult for a warrior such as I to find challenging prey. And now, let the hunt begin.
Going back to his roots, Black Panther connects with the Fantastic Four again for their animated series. The heroes do battle against the arch-villain Claw.
The world has many dangers. For your people's sake, and the entire world's, a man with your powers can never rest.
So what do you say? The Black Panther's ready to stalk again.
The 1990s ended with Volume 3 of Marvel's Black Panther comic series. In the trademark series, we are introduced to a number of characters known today, including Everett Ross and his adapted brother White Wolf, also known as Hunter.
Move, Captain. I won't ask a second time.
The reset button was hit once again in 2005 as Black Panther Volume 4 gets released to comic book shelves. The biggest moment in the series was the wedding between Black Panther and X-Men's Storm in issue 18. Their honeymoon was cut short when the zombie invasion hit Marvel in 2007, including a couple iconic covers featuring Black Panther in an undead form.
Panther, you should not be here.
It's all right.
You must leave immediately. I will not warn you again.
In 2006, the Black Panther has a huge role in the Marvel animated film entitled Ultimate Avengers 2: Rise of the Panther. The animated film may give glimpses of the live-action Wakanda battles we will see in the Avengers Infinity War.
So what could Kleiser be planning now? Do you have any idea?
No, but I believe my father did. He had been preparing me for this very time. I intend to avenge his death, Captain.
I understand.
The movie features the Black Panther teaming up with the Avengers to stop a race of alien creatures from overtaking Wakanda and stealing all of the powerful metal vibranium. Volume 5 of Black Panther sent him on multiple adventures, including the crossover Doom Wars series featuring the Fantastic Four, Dr. Doom, and dozens of other heroes. In this series, we get to witness Black Panther wear the Infinity Gauntlet and do battle against Dr. Doom with a powerful weapon.
I will fight alongside our new allies.
Why should we trust you?
I will earn your trust.
He's probably our best bet for a ride home, too.
You're in.
15 years after appearing in the Fantastic Four animated series, Black Panther returned to television. He goes full CG as he joins up with Iron Man for a battle against the White Knight.
Perhaps this king needs to change the way Wakanda thinks about outsiders. Do not get excited, Stark. I said perhaps.
Just 1 year later, Tate Diggs voices the Black Panther as the hero joins his girlfriend Storm to take on Loki and MODOK in the Superhero Squad show, based off the popular toy line. The 2010s would turn out to be the decade of the Black Panther as the hero rises to mainstream prominence. In 2010, Black Panther's backstory is given the animated treatment in multiple episodes of The Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, as he watches his father die at the hands of Manape and then avenges him in an intense battle of his own.
This is a trap. This is what Dr. Doom wants. For the Fantastic Four to come to him on his terms. If you charge in, you will be destroyed.
In the same year, BET and Marvel teamed up for the dark motion comic animated series based on the Black Panther. The star-studded cast included Kerry Washington, Jimon Hansu, and Jill Scott.
We have already taken out the garbage.
I wanted to question them.
We have the answers we need.
I guess that means I have questions for you.
Goodbye, Captain America.
Meanwhile, in the comic book realm, Daredevil handed over the vigilante keys of Hell's Kitchen to the Black Panther as T'Challa defends the neighborhood against some of the toughest criminals. In 2014, Black Panther's animated appearances continued with Marvel Disc Wars: The Avengers. The Japanese-only series introduced Black Panther 29 episodes in as he takes on Red Skull and Tiger Shark as they attempt to take over Wakanda.
Gotta say, Black Panther, this Wakandan tech is pretty sharp. It's as good as Stark tech.
I recognize you intended that to be a compliment, but I find your comparison insulting to Wakandan technology.
What?
Black Panther teams up with the Avengers to take on Claw in Season 3 of the hit Disney show Avengers Assemble.
Avengers, assemble!
His role has become much larger than a quick guest appearance, as the 5th season will premiere in 2018 and is entitled Black Panther's Quest.
Now, because your friend murdered my father, I also wear the mantle of king. So I ask you, as both warrior and king, how long do you think you can keep your friend safe from me?
T'Challa's father gets assassinated and his transformation into the Black Panther steals the show in 2016's Captain America: Civil War. This is the first live-action performance of the Black Panther character. The Black Panther could have easily had a minimal role in the film, but the writers and director took their time to properly introduce the character, develop a little backstory, and showcase elements used for future films. And of course, he was featured in plenty of action scenes, including a thrilling chase after Bucky Barnes.
Vengeance has consumed you. It's consuming them. I'm done letting it consume me.
Getting ready to gear up for his expanded role in the MCU, Marvel relaunches the Black Panther comic series with a focus on T'Challa protecting his homeland of Wakanda. The character design and visual style matches the MCU version of the Black Panther more accurately. In 2018, Chadwick Boseman suits up for Black Panther's huge solo movie where he takes on classic foes like Claw, Eric Killmonger, and Manape.
Black Panther is a world leader. That's a responsibility that other superheroes don't commonly have, that he has to look out for an entire nation.
This is the first solo film for an African Marvel hero and has a lot of hype leading into it as fans buzz about the story, visuals, and casting. Joining Chadwick Boseman in the film are acclaimed actors like Michael B. Jordan, Martin Freeman, Andy Serkis, Lupita Nyong'o, Forrest Whitaker, and Angela Bassett. The future only looks brighter for Black Panther as he is included in more animated and live-action content.
Evacuate the city. Engage all defenses. And get this man a shield.
Just a few months after the Black Panther solo film, he reconnects with Black Widow, Captain America, and other heroes to challenge Thanos through the dark and gritty Infinity War. Chances are we'll be visiting Wakanda a lot during the film, and the Avengers will be battling by his side with him. The Avengers Infinity War gives Marvel a chance to cement the Black Panther as one of Marvel's most popular heroes. Just like Civil War, it looks like Black Panther will have a pivotal role, and a solo film sequel will likely take place in the future. 2018 may go down as the year of the Black Panther. Expect a lot of special comics and special Marvel publications to follow as the history of the Black Panther only grows.
Brony
That was awesome!
On the big screen, Black Panther prepares to take on some heavy hitters in the Marvel Universe. But in the comics, the King of Wakanda has already taken on and defeated some of Marvel's biggest supervillains. Take a crash course through Black Panther's history to see exactly who T'Challa has defeated over the years and what to expect when the hero debuts in his solo movie. Before you watch, click subscribe. You'll join our notification squad and be the first to know of new content.
Run back to Skull and tell him Doom's answer is no.
Not a weapon, huh?
For those of superior intellect, words are weapons.
Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom is one of the most powerful villains in all of Marvel history. While Doom typically focuses on the Fantastic Four, he has been at odds with the Black Panther numerous times in the comics. It's too late to include him in Marvel's production of Black Panther. Disney's recent acquisition of 20th Century Fox means both the Fantastic Four and Dr. Doom could be headed to Wakanda. One of the biggest battles between Black Panther and Dr. Doom took place in the miniseries known as Doom War.
Fission-powered gauntlets, vibranium-reinforced armor, lasers out the wazoo, a nuclear-powered wazoo at that. Hence the Doom part.
In the story, Dr. Doom uses vibranium to power his own suit along with an army of Doombots. Doom had all the strength and power in their battle, but the Black Panther outsmarted Dr. Doom, destroyed the source of vibranium power, and was ultimately able to save his whole kingdom of Wakanda. In the Secret Wars, Black Panther and Dr. Doom go head-to-head again, but this time Black Panther has the Infinity Gauntlet. Yes, that Infinity Gauntlet on his side. Wearing the infamous glove, he fights off Dr. Doom long to distract him and stop the evil villain from any more carnage. Black Panther often has the combat skills, but is able to his brain power to defeat villains a lot of the time.
Cuttlefish, deep sea fish, they make lights, disco lights.
to hypnotize their prey, and then I saw a documentary. It was terrifying.
Claw. There's been one man who has constantly been a thorn in the Black Panther's side, and that man is Claw. His full name is Ulysses Claw, and he is the son of a Nazi war criminal. Marvel fans got their first look at Claw in the Avengers Age of Ultron when Ultron slices his arm off. Played by Andy Serkis, the actor reprises his role as the character for the Black Panther movie. In the comics, it was T'Challa who damaged his hand and forced it to get amputated. Claw uses sound as his primary weapon, transforming his amputated arm into a sonic sound weapon and constantly attacking the forces in Wakanda along with other heroes.
I will take care of Claw myself. This is a Wakandan matter. It does not concern you, Captain.
Black Panther has defeated Claw numerous times. In the comics, Black Panther not only defeated Claw on his own, but he often teamed up with other heroes.
Avengers, assemble!
This was reflected in the animated show Avengers Assemble. Panther teamed up with Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America to help defeat Claw and destroy his prosthetic weapon. Removed from his powerful suit, Claw was taken to Wakanda prisons to answer for his actions. No matter how many times Claw gets defeated, he often lives to fight another day and also seeks out Black Panther as his main target.
Dread it. Run from it. Destiny still arrives.
Thanos. Thanos has been teased about, showcased, and is ready to make his big debut in Marvel's Avengers Infinity War. In the comic books, Thanos has already taken on a number of heroes, including the Black Panther. The Black Panther has worn the Infinity Gauntlet before, but he didn't need it in an effort to stop the powerful god. The main battles between Black Panther and Thanos took place during the Civil War II comic book arc. In a collection of side stories, Black Panther's adventures with a group known as the Ultimates led him in direct conflict with Thanos. Along with the Black Panther, the group includes Blue Marvel, Spectrum, Miss America, and Captain Marvel. The Ultimates made it their mission to stop Thanos and battled him throughout multiple issues. In the end, Black Panther invents a device that sends force field waves into the brain of Thanos and causes him to get knocked out in a matter of seconds. Thanos is apprehended and put in a high-security prison to answer for his crimes. Chances are it won't be that easy for Black Panther in the next Avengers movie.
If they cut off one head, two more shall take its place. Hail Hydra.
Red Skull. Every franchise has its key villains, and for Captain America, it's Red Skull. The Nazi monster has fought the Captain plenty of times, but he also set his sights on the Black Panther as well. In the Avengers Volume 3, Red Skull took on the Black Panther in a brutal and bloody battle featuring some pretty violent hand-to-hand combat. Black Panther got involved with Red Skull because the evil villain had unleashed a poisonous biochemical agent near Mount Rushmore. Red Skull tried to pin the terrorist attack on Wakanda, but Black Panther was having none of it. Before a punch was even traded, the Black Panther made a promise to break Red Skull's jaw. And boy, did he live up to that promise. Black Panther let out all of his rage, and thanks to a quick distraction by the Falcon, the Black Panther got the upper hand. He absolutely destroyed Red Skull's jaw, crushing it to pieces and defeating the supervillain. Thankfully, Red Skull's blood was used to save all the people from the poison he unleashed upon innocent civilians.
I want your weapons. Your secrets. It's all mine now.
Eric Killmonger. Batman has the Joker, Thor has Loki, and the Black Panther has Eric Killmonger. Eric Killmonger is the thorn in Black Panther's side with a deep-rooted history of hate that will never go away. When Eric was just a child, his family was exiled from Wakanda. He was forced to live a poor life in the streets of New York City. He pretty much spent his whole life vowing revenge against the Black Panther.
I waited my entire life for this. The world's gonna start over. I'ma burn it all!
Not only did he get in shape and train in martial arts, but he worked on his smarts by earning multiple degrees and was considered a genius. A special herb gives Killmonger the same skills and abilities the Black Panther has. This helps him in battles and creates an even playing field.
What do you want? I want the throne.
Killmonger's big downfall was letting his anger and hatred get the best of him. In a battle against the Black Panther, Killmonger was killed, but like many great comic villains, he was brought back to life by the Mandarin to fight another day. Killmonger is always on a quest to overtake the Wakanda throne and lead the people into misery for betraying his family. In Marvel's Black Panther movie, Killmonger is played by Michael B. Jordan and seems to have a similar story as the comic book origins.
If you succeed, I'll return your soul.
not doing it. You don't have any choice.
Mephisto. Taking on the devil is no easy task, and Marvel's version of the devil has presented a challenge to numerous characters. Known by the name of Mephisto, the devilish character has appeared in numerous Marvel comic books and taken the souls of many characters in his quest to spread evil across the globe. I guess the devil didn't anticipate the power of the Panther god. After showing up at Everett Ross's apartment, Black Panther comes to stop Mephisto from his terrible actions. In a move to outsmart Mephisto, Black Panther agrees to give his soul to the devil to save the city and Ross from any harm. What the devil doesn't realize is the Black Panther didn't have his soul to give. It belongs to the more powerful Panther god.
In my culture, death is not the end. It's more of a stepping off point.
This move gave Black Panther control over Mephisto and allowed him to torture the devil, completely turning the tables and doing something no other hero has been able to do over the years.
Tell that to the dead.
The living are not done with you yet.
Mephisto was humiliated and defeated with barely a physical battle needed on Black Panther's part. Don't expect Mephisto to pop up in the MCU anytime soon, but if he does, Black Panther will be there to take him on with his fearless attitude and intelligence.
I am king, not the Black Panther. The Black Panther is no more! You are wrong, M'Baku. The Black Panther challenges you for the throne of Wakanda.
Man-Ape. The Black Panther's homeland is known as Wakanda, is filled with many technological advances thanks to the material known as vibranium. Not everyone is a huge fan of these advanced technologies, especially a character known as Man-Ape.
Man-Ape won the throne in combat. They feel they must follow him, no matter if it destroys everything. And the Man-Ape will destroy everything.
After drinking the blood and eating the flesh of a white gorilla, Man-Ape grew larger than life and is the second strongest warrior behind Black Panther. While on his homeland of Wakanda, Black Panther is often at odds with the giant beast. In the Avengers comic book series, there was a time where Man-Ape outsmarted Black Panther and had him captured. Captain America and a few other Avengers helped save Black Panther as their war waged on. Despite the setback in the Avengers comic, Black Panther is often coming out on top over his foe.
The vibranium has corrupted Wakanda, weakened it. I will restore my land to its natural state without the Panther tribe's technology.
In the animated production of the Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, proving his strength and training, the Black Panther dominates the Man-Ape and proves why he is the top warrior in Wakanda. Man-Ape is a part of the official Black Panther movie, but is referred to as his human name, M'Baku, rather than the villainous nickname given in the comic books.
Don't freeze.
I never freeze.
Black Panther was an amazing movie for many reasons, but some fans think Denai Guerrera as Okoye absolutely stole the show. We all know she's a ferocious member of the Dora Milaje who've sworn loyalty to the Black Panther, but you might be surprised to learn the true role of the Dora Milaje in the comic books and learn who Okoye almost ended up in a relationship with. Okoye is a member of the Dora Milaje, and in Black Panther, we learned that this is an elite group of female warriors sworn to protect the ruler of Wakanda. We don't go to the theater to see the latest Marvel movie because we're hoping for a romantic storyline, but this one was done really well. The love between Okoye and W'Kabi actually added to the storyline, made sense for the characters, and did not come out of nowhere. And for a Marvel movie, that's all the more impressive. The studio even filmed a scene which confirmed that W'Kabi and Okoye are indeed married, but it didn't end up making it into the final cut of the movie. The deleted scene takes place while Okoye and W'Kabi are arguing over whether or not to support Killmonger and his infiltration of Wakanda. Okoye asks W'Kabi if he wants her to leave the Dora Milaje and bring their children into the world as conquerors. W'Kabi claims their children will be able to lead a truly free world instead of the insular country of Wakanda. As much as we love Okoye, W'Kabi, and their relationship, we think it makes sense that Marvel Studios omitted this scene where Okoye seems like she's deferring to her husband's opinion as a wife and future mother. Instead, Okoye initially claims to support the throne regardless of who sits on it out of a deep-rooted respect for Wakandan traditions and her position in the Dora Milaje. But some fans wished that there were more interactions between Okoye and W'Kabi. Apparently, there were some signs showing them being physically affectionate with one another, but they didn't end up making it into the final cut cut of the movie either. However, even without these scenes being included in the movie, most moviegoers were under the impression that Okoye and W'Kabi were married because of the way that they were interacting. Their storyline wasn't about falling in love or the thrill of new romance, which makes it different from a lot of movies and Marvel movies in particular. These two characters have been together for a long time, know each other really well, and have a huge amount of respect for one another. In the comic books, Okoye is much more subservient and acts as a potential love interest for T'Challa. In the movie, she has the rank of general and leads the Dora Milaje. It's quite the promotion, and it's awesome to see a man and a woman being such good friends without any romantic overtones. We love Okoye's relationship with W'Kabi, but her friendship with T'Challa is great too. Of course, she respects him as a king, but she also knows him well enough to call him out when the situation warrants it, such as when he freezes up around Nakia. In fact, the Okoye we see on the big screen in Black Panther has a very different personality compared to the comic book version of the character. She's a lot more like another character named Anika, who was the captain of the Dora Milaje prior to the events of Black Panther. Anika doesn't exist in the MCU, but Io has been around since the events of Captain America Civil War. Apparently, there was a scene originally intended to be in Black Panther, which hinted at a romance between Okoye and Io. The two were going to be making flirtatious eyes at one another while in formation with their fellow members of the Dora Milaje. Then, the two tell each other they look good, and Okoye replies, "I know." How Han Solo of her. It's unclear whether Okoye and Io were ever going to have an actual romantic relationship in the movie, or if this was just going to be a reference to the comic books, but it's pretty similar to a scene early in the relationship of Anika and Io where Anika calls Io beautiful. Apparently this scene didn't make it very far in the production process either, and ended up being scrapped early on. Clearly, they decided to go in a different direction with Okoye's character by having her marry W'Kabi. The costumes, hairstyles, and makeup worn by the characters of Black Panther are incredibly impressive. According to Denai Guerrera, she spent about an hour and a half per day getting Okoye's head tattoos applied, and that was on a good day. But the Dora Milaje's outfits were another matter entirely, and were influenced by some surprising sources. Most of the costumes from Black Panther were inspired by traditional outfits from various places in Africa, but for the Dora Milaje's outfits, the costume department looked a bit farther east. According to senior visual development illustrator Anthony Francisco, the Dora Milaje costume was only about 80% African influence. For the remainder of the costume, he and his team drew inspiration from Filipino tribal artifacts and other Asian themes. Francisco grew up in the Philippines and often saw African artifacts mixed in with the traditional Filipino decor, but there was one tribe in particular who influenced the costumes, and that was the Ifugao tribe. Their name means people of the earth, which seems fitting for the movie Black Panther. They live in a village at the base of the Cordillera mountain range in the north of Luzon Island. Many people know of their ancient rice terraces, which were built by their ancestors in 100 BC. Historians believe they suggest the ancient Ifugao people had a waste management system which was far ahead of its time. In modern times, the Ifugao people still believe in preserving their cultural elements and take great pride in their weaving, beading, and traditional narrative chants. The beadwork on Okoye's abdomen was inspired by a table runner Francisco would always see when he visited his aunt's house. If you look carefully, you'll see small golden rings hanging from the tassels on the side of her uniform. These are supposed to bring good luck to the wearer. Everyone knows the Dora Milaje are incredible warriors, but a certain part of their costume was influenced by another type of famous elite warrior, the samurai. The split-toed boots worn by samurai were known as jikatabi. They were used as the inspiration for the shoes of the Dora Milaje. Francisco also credits the Maasai in southern Kenya and northern Tanzania for providing inspiration for the uniforms, and their armbands and neck rings are based on those worn by the women of the South African Ndebele tribe. All in all, Francisco claims the Dora Milaje's uniforms are about 5% samurai, 5% ninja, and 5% Ifugao tribe. While Okoye might not have looked very pleased to see so many newcomers showing up during Avengers Infinity War, Denai Guerrera says she was ecstatic to get to work with so many other talented actors. It turns out that it wasn't just us Marvel fans who got excited over seeing our favorite characters together all in one movie. There's no denying that Okoye wasn't happy during Infinity War, and we're not just talking about what happened at the end. According to Guerrera, Okoye is naturally cautious when it comes to outsiders. She's always thinking thinking about the myriad of ways things could go terribly wrong at any given moment and worrying about what she can and can't control. Although this may make her distrustful, it's also made her an amazing leader and contributed immeasurably to the success of the Dora Milaje. Just like fellow warriors, Okoye has grown up in the Dora Milaje, and fighting to defend Wakanda and her king is her life's work. So although Thanos is the biggest threat of Infinity War, Okoye doesn't exactly trust all of the newcomers right away. So with that in mind, you can probably imagine just how glad Okoye is that Bucky Barnes is in Wakanda. Although it turns out he wasn't actually responsible, it's probable that she spent some time under the impression that he was responsible for the death of T'Chaka, the former king and Black Panther. Oh yeah, then there's that whole Winter Soldier thing where, you know, he spent decades as an incredibly dangerous assassin. Honestly, it would probably be weirder if Okoye did trust Bucky at this point. One of the major points of contention in the movie Black Panther is whether Wakanda should open its borders to outsiders or remain secluded. After all, there's a lot of benefits to the rest of the world thinking that you're an impoverished nation with limited resources. Announcing that you have access to incredible weapons and technology kind of makes you a massive threat. But of course, limiting your visibility also limits your ability to provide assistance to people outside of Wakanda. Over the course of the movie, we saw T'Challa struggling with this conundrum, but it turns out that this is something which has been on Okoye's mind as well. And it makes sense because even though she wasn't royalty, maintaining the security of Wakanda is her primary objective. How much more difficult does her job become when Wakanda goes public? Gurira says this is something which is frequently weighing on Okoye's mind, and she can't help but think of it when Bucky arrives in Wakanda. We've seen Okoye appear in 2 MCU movies so far, Black Panther and Avengers Infinity War. She's scheduled to appear in Avengers Endgame as well, since she was one of the people left standing after Thanos' decimation. But what about her future in the MCU? Black Panther was a massive success at the box office, so we know it's only a matter of time before Marvel officially announces the release date for a sequel, but because this is Marvel Studios we're talking about, we're sure they'll make us wait as long as possible for any details. According to Gurira, don't expect Okoye to be moving into Avengers headquarters anytime soon. Although we've seen her venture outside of Wakanda, her responsibility is ultimately to her home. She'll go where her king commands and fight by his side, but don't expect her to make the move from Wakanda. Okoye may seem indestructible, but she's well aware of how much she's got on her plate. Guarding another person is a heavy task, especially when that someone is the Black Panther. Most of the superheroes in the Marvel lineup are concerned about saving the world as a whole, but Okoye's mostly focused on one small piece of the world, and that's Wakanda. During Infinity War, we saw the fight taken to her doorstep and the ferocious way she responded as a result. It's safe to say that, having gone public, Wakanda will likely become an extremely important place in the MCU, and we'll be seeing much more of Okoye.
What are those? Just kidding. We learned memes are alive and well in Wakanda during Black Panther, but in the aftermath of Infinity War, we're desperate to know which character survived. Obviously, the Panther tribe gets a lot of attention, but there are 5 other tribes who fought against Thanos. We'll learn about their origins and talk about what this could mean for the upcoming Avengers Endgame. Let's start out this video with one hard truth. Wakanda is not a real place. We know it's heartbreaking and we hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that doesn't mean there's no real-world inspiration behind it. Some fans point to the Monomatapa civilization of Great Zimbabwe as having similarities with Wakanda, while writer Ta-Nehisi Coates looks to Ethiopia for inspiration. Black Panther director Ryan Coogler claims that he was inspired by his trip to Lesotho when creating the movie. It's clear that the fictional world of Wakanda has a life of its own, and it even has its own origin story in the MCU. It all starts 2.5 million years ago when a meteorite made of an alien metal crash-landed in the heart of Africa. Centuries later, the 5 tribes living in the area went to war over the precious metal, which they called Isifo, and we know it as vibranium. Eventually, a warrior shaman named Bashenga received a vision from the panther goddess Bast and found a plant that had been tainted by the metal. When Bashenga consumed the plant, it imbued him with superhuman powers, making him the first Black Panther and giving him the power to unite the tribes as the king of Wakanda. 4 of the tribes were all too happy to pledge loyalty to the Black Panther, but the Jabari tribe refused and instead chose to isolate themselves. Although the Jabari, also known as the Mountain Tribe, shunned the use of vibranium, they had a surprisingly large role to play in Black Panther. When T'Challa asked if there were any challengers who opposed his role, we saw M'Baku step up. Yes, he was ultimately defeated by T'Challa, but the fact that he even tried is certainly impressive. Until Killmonger joined the movie later, nobody dared challenge T'Challa's rule at all. And M'Baku not only challenged T'Challa in single combat, but he represents a challenge to the entire Wakandan way of life. The Jabari tribe doesn't just turn away because they didn't want to be ruled by the original Black Panther. They look down on using vibranium and the modernization of their people. While Wakanda is known for its technological advances, the Jabari tribe would be looked at as primitive by most of the world. They adhere to traditional customs, worship the gorilla god Hanuman, and refuse to take advantage of vibranium technology. According to actor Winston Duke, who plays M'Baku, what some would look as weakness is actually a strength in many ways. When describing the Jabari people, he claims they strongly believe that to move forward, you have to have a strong adherence and respect for the past, so they have a deep moral conscience. After the events of Black Panther and Avengers Infinity War, this couldn't be more apparent. In Black Panther, the vibranium and its technology does nothing but cause problems for T'Challa and his people, and it's up to M'Baku and the Jabari tribe to rescue him. After saving T'Challa's life and offering his family sanctuary, M'Baku fights alongside him in the Battle of Mount Bashenga, earning him a spot on the tribal council. In Avengers Infinity War, M'Baku and the rest of the Jabari tribe were once more given the opportunity to defend their home, and they did so without hesitation. They did their best to stop Thanos' forces, but as we all know, the Mad Titan triumphed and collected all of the Infinity Stones. We saw that M'Baku survived Thanos snapping his fingers, but the fate of the other Wakandans hangs in the balance. We had tons of questions following the conclusion of Infinity War, but chief among them was, where's Shuri? During the movie, it became apparent that Shuri is the smartest person in the MCU, even stacked up against people like Bruce Banner and Tony Stark. She worked diligently to remove the Mind Stone from Vision safely, but was ultimately incapacitated by Corvus Glaive. However, the end of the movie left her fate unknown. We didn't see her disintegrate, but we didn't see her safe either. And then came the highly anticipated trailer for Avengers Endgame. During one scene while Black Widow is talking about who they've lost, we see Bruce Banner looking at images of some very familiar faces. We see the images of Peter Parker, Scott Lang, and Shuri in this scene. Now we know without a doubt that Peter Parker didn't survive the snap. Yes, we were watching that scene through tears, but we're still sure of it. When we last saw Scott Lang, he was in the quantum realm during the post-credit scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp, and all his cohorts vanished during the snap. This led the fans believe he was stuck there, so we weren't surprised to see him listed among the missing in the trailer. Seeing Shuri lumped in with the missing Scott and Peter was pretty devastating, but the trailer wasn't over yet, and we're sure you're aware Scott Lang showed up at the end of the Endgame trailer, and he was definitely not in the quantum realm. While this was exciting news on its own, it also gave us hope that perhaps Shuri didn't vanish at the end of Infinity War. There's a possibility she's still alive and merely unaccounted for. We saw T'Challa's family take refuge with the Jabari tribe during Black Panther, so is it possible this is happening again? M'Baku and Shuri really exemplify their respective tribes. During Black Panther, M'Baku called Shuri a child, and it's clear he has no respect for all of her accomplishments. While to Shuri, the members of the Jabari tribe seem ridiculous for passing on the technology Wakanda has available, but at the end of the movie, these two wind up on the same side, despite their significant ideological conflicts. After Infinity War, the land of Wakanda has been decimated, and if Shuri is still alive, it would be fascinating to see her and M'Baku working together. If the Avengers think Shuri is gone, is there a reason she's gone off the grid? Based on what we've seen of the healing power of Wakanda, we doubt she's still waiting for her wounds to heal. If she's alive and hasn't made contact, we're guessing that's a tactical choice. Shuri stands out from the other brilliant minds of Marvel because she always seems to be focused on defense. Sure, Wakanda has powerful weapons too, but other than Shuri's blaster gauntlets, many of them seem to predate her. When we see the additions she's made to the Black Panther suit, we realize it's a force field meant to protect the wearer and not dole out damage. We aren't saying Shuri is a pacifist or she can't create weapons, rather, we're illustrating that she has a different way of approaching problems than many other Marvel heroes. M'Baku and the rest of the Jabari tribe also have their own way of dealing with things, as evidenced by the lifestyle they've chosen to lead over the years. It would definitely be fascinating to see how people like M'Baku and Shuri, who couldn't be more different, might come together in order to defend their home. Now that we've covered the Jabari tribe, let's take a look at the other tribes in the movie Black Panther. As we pointed out earlier, Wakanda isn't a real place. Sorry, but that doesn't mean it doesn't draw inspiration from many real-life sources. The costuming in the movie is really quite incredible, and a ton of research went into creating everything you see on the big screen. One simple outfit worn by a character in Black Panther is often the result of painstaking research and the blending of several different African cultures. We'll start out with the Border tribe, of which Wakabi is a proud member. As you might have guessed from the name, the Border Tribe is charged with guarding the border of Wakanda and making sure nobody enters unannounced. In the movie, you see them wearing distinct blanket cloaks, and these are based on traditional gear worn by the Basotho people. They live in Lesotho, which is a mountainous region of South Africa, where it snows in the winter. In fact, the lands of the Border Tribe look very similar to the green lands of Lesotho, and the people there are renowned for their ability to ride, except they stick to horses instead of rhinos like in Black Panther. Those blankets not only protect wearers from the cold, but the designs symbolize different things. In the movie, the blankets have Wakandan symbols and are imbued with Wakandan technology. The warriors of the Dora Milaje wear beautiful golden rings around their necks, and there's a real-world inspiration for this practice. These rings are an iconic symbol of South African culture, but they hail from the Ndebele tribe. The rings are called Inzila, and only married women are permitted to wear them. According to the tradition, the rings are gifts from the woman's husband, meaning the more rings she has, the wealthier she is. This gives an all-new meaning to the phrase, putting a ring on it, eh? The Ndebele culture is also known for its vibrant murals and paintings, which look similar to the ones spotted in downtown Wakanda. The members of the mining tribe have the distinctive look of the Ovahimba tribe, who live in northern Namibia. Because they make their home in the unforgiving desert, they've got to be creative when it comes to protecting their skin. They use ochai paste, which is made from butter, fat, red ochre, and herbs. Members of the Ovahimba tribe plait their hair and cover it with this thick paste, along with their skin. This particular color created by this paste is a red earthy tone, which has found its way into the color palette of many Black Panther costumes. The Merchant tribe, who are based on the Tuareg people of the Saharan and Sahelian regions, like the Ovahimba, they're used to desert climates, and their clothing is a reflection of this. Men of the Tuareg wear veils to protect their faces from the harsh sands of the desert, but women keep their faces uncovered and, like the Merchant tribe, the Tuareg have a history of being traders, making their living by traveling via profitable trade routes. And then we have the River tribe, who has dominion over the waterways of Wakanda. The tribe's traditional color is green, and they frequently wear a lot of crocodile skins and leathers. Their style and customs are based loosely on those of the Siri and Mercy tribes located in Ethiopia. The lip disc worn by the River tribe elder is another item everyone associates with Africa, but in actuality is only used by certain tribes. Traditionally, these discs were given to women before they were married. A small piercing is filled with a simple wooden peg, and then it gradually stretched out with the discs to a more impressive diameter. The larger discs are made of clay, and women take pride in crafting their own. It's pretty much the same process people use when they gauge their earlobes. Although the River tribe elder is a man, in the real world, this practice is only done by women. And in contemporary culture, not all women choose to partake in this. Although these are the primary inspirations for the Wakandan tribes in Black Panther, things get a little bit more muddled than that. The costume team often drew inspiration from many different tribes when putting together a single costume. The bead-making techniques of the Tuareg people were so impressive that they found their way into the style of many Wakandan citizens. These styles combine precious stones such as jade and amber with handcrafting silver. Actress Angela Bassett plays the role of Queen Mother Ramonda, and we see her wearing what looks like a large disc on her head. In Zulu culture, this type of headwear is known as the isikolo, and it's traditionally worn by married women. It's usually made out of grass fronds woven with cotton, and they vary greatly in terms of size and color between various Zulu clans. These headdresses were traditionally worn as part of ceremonial celebrations or special events, but when you're the mother of the king, you can wear them whenever you want. And like many elements of the costumes of Black Panther, this outfit incorporates some futuristic elements. Ramonda wears African lace, which was actually based on a circuit pattern and 3D printed. The end result of this is a look which is totally unique. If you notice the purple robes worn by Shaman Juri and his fellow priests, these are based on ornate robes known as agbada. These long flowing white sleeve robes are worn by the people of West Africa and North Africa. Juri's outfit may look simple, but that couldn't be further from the truth. The top layer consists of 200 silk tubes, which were sewn together over the course of 4 days. The next layer, the undercoat, is made of silken pleats, and then the accent layer is a long piece crafted of rope, leather, and tons of tiny beads. Now that is style.
If you're a die-hard Marvel fan or even familiar with comic books, then you've known about Black Panther way before he appeared in Civil War. The Black Panther is one of the most important heroes in Marvel's roster. Unfortunately, he wasn't too well known to mainstream audiences. But that has all changed, and as we eagerly await the premiere of the Wakandan hero's solo film, we've uncovered some even lesser-known tidbits about the Black Panther. You won't believe number 5 on this list. But before we get started, make sure you take a quick moment to click on that subscribe button. You'll join our notification squad and stay up to date with our latest videos.
Captain.
Your Highness.
The Lone Protector. As far as heroes go, their backstory is part of what makes them interesting. Historically, the Black Panther has a pretty interesting origin story. Or should we say a slightly paranoid and exclusionary story.
What are you talking about?
Black Panther started off as an antagonist for the Fantastic Four, and in his second ever appearance he joined the Avengers. Since then, he's remained one of Earth's coolest and mightiest heroes. He even joined the Ultimates and the Illuminati.
The amount of responsibility that he has as a superhero and as a king, to me, that's one of the most fun things.
Although Black Panther developed a reputation for being loyal and a great teammate, his intentions for joining these teams were originally a lot less altruistic. T'Challa is a leader and a ruler, so his highest priority is to himself and the people of Wakanda. He reveals that his reasons for joining the Avengers wasn't just to help save the world. It was actually to spy on them and see what threat those insanely powerful people could pose to his realm. Which makes perfect sense. Vibranium makes Wakanda a target, and it's T'Challa's duty to protect his kingdom at all costs, which leaves him a very lonely genius ruler.
The Black Panther has been the protector of Wakanda for generations. A mantle passed from warrior to warrior.
Name change. Fans of this iconic hero know that the Black Panther role is a hereditary title passed down throughout his family. T'Challa earned the right to rule and the powers that come with the Black Panther persona. He rules over Wakanda, one of the most advanced countries in the world. If you're even the slightest bit familiar with history, you'll know that the name Black Panther has a very different connotation than just the Marvel hero. A radical political organization called the Black Panther Party was formed in 1966. They were known for their armed patrols to protest police brutality and injustices against African Americans. That being said, many assume that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were inspired by the Black Panther Party when they created the Wakandan hero. But it was just a simple coincidence. The truth is that despite his name having very different political connotations, the Marvel hero actually predated the Black Panther Party by a few months. The rise of the group, however, became a topic of contention for Marvel. In 1972, T'Challa returned with a name change in Fantastic Four number 119. He briefly called himself Black Leopard as he contemplated his return to the US. In the comic, he states, "I neither condemn nor condone those who have taken up the name, but T'Challa is a law unto himself."
Why, you don't approve of all this?
The Accords, yes. The politics, not really. 2 people in a room can get more done than 100.
Unless you need to move a piano.
Kicking some collective butt. After premiering in a Fantastic Four comic, Black Panther got his own comic book, although it was called Jungle Action. Shortly thereafter, McGregor released Panther's Rage, one of Marvel's first experiments with self-contained story arcs. His Jungle Action comics were considered one of the most important comic book runs of all time. Not too long after Black Panther's name-changing incident, we saw another political storyline: the Panther versus the Klan. The group is only referred to as the Klan and aren't technically called the Ku Klux Klan, but it's pretty obvious that they are. Black Panther got first-hand looks at racism in the American South. At one point, he learns about a Klan meetup and fights them, but is overwhelmed and is tied to a burning cross. The whole scene is heartbreaking and terrible to see, and even when BP breaks free and unleashes his powerful wrath upon them, the victory is not presented as a win but as an exhausting trial, a symbol of the struggle African American men and women went through.
Do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else.
Bride of the Panther. Ah, romance. It's present in every good story. Black Panther's story includes being in one of the comic book history's most prominent and beloved couples of all time. When T'Challa was a young man, he left to explore the world, as most young folks do. He was attacked by a group of men, which normally would be a pretty bad situation, except for this unfortunate encounter changed his life. This led to his meeting Ororo Monroe, also known as Storm, when she helped save him from his attackers. As time went on, they traveled together and became close friends. They were married in 2006 during the Civil War. Their wedding provided a bright moment in a dark time in the Marvel Universe and was such a big deal that Tony Stark and Steve Rogers took a break from fighting each other to celebrate. Fans loved these two together, but unfortunately their marriage didn't last. After a brainwashed Namor flooded Wakanda, Black Panther was forced to exile all mutants from his kingdom, which of course caused a rift between Storm and BP that they couldn't heal from, and alas, they split. Some guess the split was because Fox owned the rights to X-Men, but now that Disney owns it all, we wonder if this story will come to the screens.
Zombie kill of the week?
Close, but no cigar. Zombie kill of the week goes to Sister Cynthia Knickerbocker.
Zombie invasion. Who doesn't love a good post-apocalyptic zombie story? We know we do, and we have a Marvel zombie story for you. A zombified sentry from another dimension came to Earth 2149 and infected the Avengers, which of course then spread to all heroes and later to the whole world. Hank Pym, aka Giant Man, asks T'Challa to escort him back to his lab where Pym knocks him out. He wakes up to find his right arm and leg amputated. T'Challa escapes with the severed head of Wasp and is confronted by the Acolytes, whom they join aboard Asteroid M. T'Challa meets Forge, who builds him an arm and a leg. They return 5 years later to rebuild, with Black Panther as their leader. The story gets even more intense and complicated from there. While it's a great read, we don't think it would translate too well on screen.
Hey, look at your suit! You've been taking bullets, charging it up with kinetic energy!
Put around the truck.
Heart-shaped herbs. What makes Black Panther so cool? Is it his vibranium-coated suit made of the same stuff as Captain America's indestructible shield? He pretty much has the coolest and most practical suit, and not to mention it's pretty darn stylish and sleek. But what also makes Black Panther so awesome is his superhuman strength, speed, stamina, killer reflexes, and agility. But how did T'Challa gain his superhuman abilities? Radioactive panther bite? Nope, it's a bit more awesome than that. We know that he is royalty and that the Black Panther role is a hereditary title passed down throughout his family. So we know he's trained to be a badass. But he's also incredibly intelligent, genius level actually. But his superhuman powers actually come from a heart-shaped herb that is consumed once Black Panthers earn their title. The heart-shaped herb is native to and only grows in Wakanda, and it's poisonous to most non-Wakandans. But what makes the heart-shaped herb so special? Well, it's the large deposit of vibranium, of course. Legend says that it was a gift from the Panther god, but it's really a plant that mutated with the high vibranium deposits in the soil. Those who can use it gain enhanced speed, agility, strength, endurance, healing, and enhanced senses. Pretty awesome, right?
Oh, I get it. I see now. You've been training for 2 years to take me out. And now here I am. Ooh, so exciting.
A prior attempt. With the buzz surrounding Black Panther, it's hard to imagine why Marvel wouldn't have tried to make a Black Panther film prior. Well, believe it or not, friends, there have actually been several attempts. Way back in 1992, when actor Wesley Snipes was at the peak of his career, he made it known that he had the intention of playing the Black Panther. He wanted to get the movie into production so badly, it's said that he even wrote some drafts of a script. The film was said to have been in development for years, with even Stan Lee backing the idea, but sadly it just didn't happen. Snipes had said that it would be his dream come true to originate something that no one had ever seen before.
This worked really good.
He believed that there was a wide open field for comic book characters on the big screen, and there had yet to be a major black comic book hero that was portrayed on screen. Snipes, of course, went on to portray another Marvel character, the vampire hunter Blade, in a couple of films.
So you like cats?
Sam.
What? Dude shows up dressed like a cat, you don't want to know more?
He was almost called something else. Let's do a bit of a throwback here. Back in the days before Black Panther had made his very first appearance, he was conceived to be a little bit different. When Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were creating T'Challa, they originally were going to give him a very different costume and name. He had no mask, and the costume was much more colorful. Stan Lee has mentioned that the name they were originally going with was going to be Coal Tiger. Lee and Kirby eventually reworked the very colorful design, and we got the amazing vibranium suit that we see today. While we think the original concept looked to be fun, we think the later iteration of the suit looks a lot more sleek, cool, and dare we say, badass. If you think Coal Tiger sounds cool, you'll be happy to know that the name was revived in 1999. Coal Tiger, aka Prince T'Chaka, is the son of Black Panther in the MC2 series. He's a mutant with the ability to shapeshift into a panther humanoid with superhuman strength and ability. What do you think of the name Coal Tiger? Jurassic fights. Did you ever go through a dinosaur-loving phase as a kid? We know we did, especially after all the Jurassic Park films debuted. And with the continuation of Jurassic World, we couldn't help but bring up some dinos. Because, let's face it, who doesn't love a good T-Rex? Apparently, everyone in the comic book world does, because Marvel and DC Comics are riddled with superheroes fighting dinosaurs. So cue the Jurassic Park theme song and the nostalgic feels, because we are gonna hit you hard with it. In 1975, Jungle Action 14, Black Panther entered a secluded valley in Africa, Serpent Valley, where dinosaurs continued to roam the earth. Why would you willingly wander in there? Well, his arch-enemy, Eric Killmonger, had traveled into the valley to find some dinos so that he could try and overthrow T'Challa's kingdom. While Black Panther traveled through the valley, he bumped into a T-Rex which tried to trap the hero in its mouth and devour him. Black Panther managed to break free, but he didn't stop there. T'Challa pulled down a tree, put a rock on it, and slingshot a rock towards the dino's head. Whew, ouch.
Ready, go!
Show off.
Okay, let's just say it from the start. Dr. Doom is one of the best characters in comics, and he could be our next Thanos. Only Dr. Doom could turn out to be so much better than the balance-obsessed Titan. So I'm gonna explain why Doom is so great and how his relationship with Black Panther is going to be the focus of the MCU. And of course, how all of that could give us one of the best villains ever. So Dr. Doom is essentially Marvel's Darth Vader. And like Lord Vader, Doom could easily become one of the greatest villains in movie history. The first 3 MCU phases always built toward Thanos and the Infinity Stones. And starting with Phase 4, I think the same should happen with Dr. Doom. Black Panther 2 should be the movie that fully establishes Doom as the villain of the next saga. Marvel should establish a long rivalry between T'Challa and Doom. Their relationship could kind of parallel the relationship between Iron Man and Captain America. And yeah, I know that technically Black Panther 2 is a Phase 5 movie, but with COVID-19, who knows how the MCU movie slate will change? Maybe Doom could be teased in another Phase 4 movie, like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, before making his official appearance in Black Panther 2. The key thing is to develop Doom's character throughout multiple movies and build him up from Phase 4 all the way to the climax of Phase 6. I personally think that Secret Wars should be the culmination for Phase 6. It's the perfect next story for the MCU, and it's clear that there are already plans in place to make it happen. I won't go into Secret Wars in this video since we did a video about it fairly recently, so please feel free to check it out. It talks a lot about how Secret Wars could work in the MCU and the role that Doom could play in that movie. I think we all know the reason why villains like Thanos, Killmonger, and Loki are so great, and why most people can't even remember the names of these evil bad guys. The best villains are the ones who have compelling motivations that make sense. They have interesting arcs and development of their own, and they're not just there to move the plot along. A great villain is someone who can challenge the hero's ideals and choices, and Doom is pretty much the definition of the perfect villain. Sure, there's Galactus and Kang and Magneto and more, and all of these villains should be used for sure, but Doom will be the one that everything leads to. Doom is kind of like Batman. He traveled the world, learned every skill there is to learn, and he is one of the smartest people in the world. With that big brain of his, Doom was able to create some really amazing technology, stuff that puts Iron Man to shame. But Doom is also an extremely powerful magic user. Doom's magic is so strong that he could even rival Doctor Strange himself. By merging technology, magic, and his brilliance, Doom has become one of the most powerful beings in the universe. But having ultimate power isn't what makes Doom such an interesting character. The best thing about Doom is that he believes that he is the one that should rule the world. But not because of some narcissistic obsession or delusions of grandeur. Doom wants to rule the world because he believes he is the only one that has the skills and the power to make it a better place. Doom's vision for a better world isn't some grim and gray world. He wants a world that thrives, a perfect utopia. The only caveat is that he must be the one that rules, no one else. And it was hinted in the comics that the world would be a much safer and prosperous place under Doom's rule. Doom was able to turn his nation of Latveria into one of the greatest places on Earth. Considering Doom's ambition to rule the world and make it a better place, it'll be interesting to see his reaction to the events of the first 3 phases. Maybe all of the stuff that happened will be the things that drive Doom to action. And this could offer such an intriguing clash with the heroes. But come to think of it, Doom's arc in the MCU could be somewhat similar to Iron Man's. Remember all of the things Tony did because of his obsession to save the world? Well, that's kind of how it could work with Doom. But Dr. Doom has more personal motivation than ruling the world. Doom is obsessed with achieving ultimate power, but not just for the sake of having it. Deep down, Doom just wants to save his mother's soul. Cynthia Von Doom sold her soul to Mephisto. Much of Doom's ambitions revolve around gaining the power to confront Mephisto and save his mother. Dr. Doom is someone who reacts in the most extreme way when he's feeling threatened. He must destroy anyone and anything that could harm him or Latveria. And now that the whole world knows about the true nature of Wakanda and their seemingly endless vibranium, you can bet that Doom will see Wakanda as a major threat. Also, maybe we can have some connection to Sokovia. Now, I don't want Sokovia to become Latveria. The two fictional countries are located around pretty much the same area, but they shouldn't be the same place. Considering the fact that Sokovia was pretty much destroyed by Ultron and Vibranium, maybe this will be the reason why Doom goes after Wakanda. He will see the worst possible outcome of what happens if the Vibranium falls into the wrong hands. And yeah, I know that Namor is likely going to be the villain of Black Panther 2, as was hinted in Endgame, but Namor isn't exactly a villain, he's more of an anti-hero. He's a total hothead that will go to war over the smallest thing. And I think Doom will use that, seeing both Wakanda and Atlantis as threats that must be destroyed. Doom will work from the shadows and instigate a war between Wakanda and Atlantis. This way, he could cripple both kingdoms. In the comics, Doom's nemesis is Reed Richards, but it's unlikely the same will happen in the MCU. Don't get me wrong, the Fantastic Four are great, and I can't wait to see them done right in the MCU. But it's pretty obvious that Marvel is building Black Panther as the next Iron Man and Captain America type of main character. The one hero who will be the center of things in the MCU. And by the time we get to Phase 6, Chadwick Boseman will play T'Challa for about 15 years. Meanwhile, the Fantastic Four will likely join the MCU only in late Phase 5 or even in Phase 6. Since Black Panther will be the next main character of the next MCU saga, I think it will be smart to set him up as the opposition to Dr. Doom. Of course, it will be a shame not to see the relationship between Doom and Mr. Fantastic, but this won't be the first time where Marvel Studios changes things from the comics to fit better to their stories and continuity. Besides, all the previous Fantastic Four movies had Doom as the main villain. It's time for a change! Let the Fantastic Four clash with some new villains like Kang or Annihilus. There are so many interesting parallels between Black Panther and Dr. Doom. It'll be fascinating to see Doom challenge Black Panther as a leader and a hero. T'Challa will have his hands full as he'll try to balance being the king of Wakanda and the new leader of the Avengers. That's a lot of responsibility, and T'Challa will likely face some hard decisions along the way. And that is where Doom could come in. While Doom is a monarch who expects absolute loyalty from his subjects, he himself is very loyal to his people. He truly cares for his nation, and he will do anything to protect them. It will be so interesting to see these two interact with each other. Both rulers who are sure that they're doing what's best for the world. Just imagine the great ideological clashes we could get. I also think that it will be great to see Doom and T'Challa become reluctant allies, like when Galactus comes to Earth for his feeding time. It will be so awesome to see Doom and Black Panther putting their differences aside and team up to figure out a way to stop Galactus. And that's why Doom is so great. He isn't your typical villain. He has a sense of honor, and in the end, it's about making the world a better place. This is why he will team up with other heroes and even clash with other villains. With Black Panther 2 establishing Doom's rivalry with T'Challa, Marvel can then build Doom up as the new Thanos, the villain who is always somehow involved with everything that happens on Earth. Doom could clash with different heroes and villains along the way, as all roads will lead to Phase 6, where hopefully we will end things with Secret Wars. But the thing about Doom is that unlike Thanos, he doesn't have to die after his endgame. I think it'll be interesting to see Doom's story continue beyond Phase 6. Maybe after Secret Wars, we can focus more on Doom's clash with the Fantastic Four, since Black Panther's story will likely end after Phase 6. Also, I personally wouldn't be against a Dr. Doom solo movie or a Disney Plus show. The guy deserves it for sure. Despite all of his powers, he is still a human being. He still makes human mistakes, and that is the thing that makes him so compelling. Can you really hate a guy who wants to save his mom and make the world a better place? Doom's first attempt to confront Mephisto blew up in his face, literally, and his face was completely disfigured. Victor was so ashamed of his face that he kept it hidden at all times. It's only in 2015's Secret Wars where we finally saw Doom's face.
You are horrifying to look at.
His downfall usually comes from his extreme arrogance and inability to admit or deal with his own failures. He is so obsessed that he can never stop and think about his own mistakes. This is his main weakness, and many times it causes him to do some pretty terrible things, like sacrificing his childhood lover to gain more power.
That's gross.
The bottom line is that there is pretty much anything they could do with Dr. Doom. There is a reason why he is such a beloved character in the comics, and if he'll be done right, I think he'll not only be a better villain than Thanos, but he could go down as one of the best villains in cinema history.